Okay, so we're just going to do a quick little video here, eh? Just to follow up on what I'm working on. So it is June 14th of 2023. And basically what I've been doing for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, all day, like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, is I've been photocopying. Okay. Now, I could have kept it simple and just forward all these binders to this lawyer. I'm pretty sure her name is Susan. But it was just better if I did it this way. It's been expensive. I'm pushing up to $500. Yeah. But it's worth it. Yeah. No regrets, people. Oh, this is the first time, really, where someone in my family, and in this case it would be Amari, right, who actually has a fighting chance in the justice system. I'm just saying. Okay? Without Susan, there's no chance. Right? Because when you look at the stuff that I've been doing all these years, I haven't gotten very far with it, people. That's only a fraction of the binders that I have. My God. I just went down the hall because I'm going through binders now. This is Amari's files for what I have. I mean, there's more, but you have to, right? Because, you know, he has seizures and he goes to the children's hospital regularly and just da-dee-dee-da. So anyway, this is the first set of Amari's medical files, with the majority of that being from that first time they had him go to the hospital in November of 2018 to find out what was wrong with him. They did their series of blood tests to rule out any genetic chromosomal defects and, you know, just the whole 9 yards, right? That's when they were poking him in his arm 25 times trying to get his vein, and then they moved into this one and started poking 25 times, and I'm freaking out, and I'm like, no, do it here. They once, twice, they got it, but in the meantime, they poked him, and then they went on and they proceeded to freaking botch their MRI. Okay, I'm just saying. Well, the botched MRI is in here. The only thing is, maybe this video will be a little longer because I'm so stressed out. You don't even know how stressed out I am. Okay, now I'm so stressed out I want to cry, but I gotta stay focused because I want to give this to the lawyer like ASAP. So I'm at the tail end of it, and now I'm just adding in a few extra of this and a little bit of that, and I'm looking for 3 specific papers specifically that I'm pretty damn sure that I read a long time ago, right? 2 of them relate to Shamay's file, and 1 of them relates to Amari's file. And there should be three individual pieces of paper, 3 individual files, right? That I should, but I can't do. And I'm like, is this the Mandela effect? Because I'm pretty damn sure I read it. Because when I read it, it really stood out in my mind. But do you think I can find those papers now? Because I've been going through binder, right? Looking for these papers. Just so that I can cross-reference, and because I've been like writing little sticky notes, right? So that when the lawyer reads, or the paralegal reads, I fill in the blanks so they get the full story and not bits and batches of the story, right? And not that they're going to get the full story, because the full story is too freaking long. Like, it doesn't even make sense, people. So in the meantime, you know, I'm on a hunt for these papers, because as I was photocopying Shamay's medical files. I didn't find what I was looking for. And then when I got into Amari's files, right, Amari's files, I'm like, okay, it must be in there. And the cross-reference paper that I'm looking for is not in here, although it should be in here. And I'm like, well, where the hell did it go? Now, you know, throughout the years, working on multiple family members' issues, sometimes papers get mixed up, or maybe I'll pull out a paper and put it off over there thinking, you know, I'll do, and then put it back, and then, of course, life takes over, and, oh, okay, so whatever. I can't sweat it. I can't worry about one or two pieces of paper that I can't find. So in the meantime, you know, I want to give this lawyer as much information as possible, because, you know, there's a chance that she'll send it back and say, no, I can't help you because it's all Shamay's fault as to why Amari is the way he is. And I'd be like, okay, fair enough, but you have to tell me why you think that. Show me where it convinces you of that. And then if I don't agree, then I'll go for a second opinion. If I agree, then I guess I'm going to have to let it go, people. But in the meantime, that's not going to happen. Okay. So for the actual birth of Amari, that's his medical records. That's all it took to run their smear campaign on Shamay to suggest she was doing drugs. Do you know, I was reading it, like, you know, as much as I can, just to get up to speed with things, so that if and when I talk to this lawyer in a more, there's another word for deeper, like a deeper conversation, right? You know, I already have it kind of on mind because right? So I'm reading as much as I can, and it even suggested, can't remember where I read it, somewhere in here, probably in here, because Shamay was going out for smokes after she gave birth to Amari, the RN was suggesting that Shamay was going out to do drugs. Yeah. That's how they called in the social workers, between the doctor doing the urine test because of Amari being jittery, right? They tried to smooth it over because he came out jittery, people. You see, that's the thing. And so they noted it, and then they noted that it stopped, and then of course it didn't stop, so they couldn't ignore it, so they had to write it down to continue. So he came out jittery, there was a period where it appeared that it stopped, and then because it didn't stop, then they went on the witch hunt, right? We're going to test the baby's urine to see if you've been doing drugs. Then they came back, said the baby had drugs and, you know, the opiate, right, because of the fentanyl from the C-section and whatnot. But they didn't say that at first. They just said that the baby had drugs. Have you been using drugs? Right? And then the RN even said that she was thinking that Shamay was leaving the room to go outside and do drugs versus just go outside and have a smoke, right? Just stupid shit like that, people. Okay. Just like fucking burns my goat. Like, you don't even know. Right? Because it leads up to, you know, they do it so subtly. And I wish that when the first time I was reading this and when I was doing everything that I was doing, that when I caught the few things that I'm looking for now to highlight that I can't fucking find, and I'm like, well, is this the Mandela effect? Like, you know, it was there before, but now you can't find the papers and, you know, and blah and blah, but, you know, you can't worry about 2 or 3 or 4 pieces of paper because, you know, if they're around the house, sooner or later you're going to find them, right? And, you know, if the lawyer decides to take on the case, when you find them, you can just forward them to to her, or you can make mention that, look for this, because right now I can't seem to find it, and I'm pretty sure I read it, okay? So I'm kind of like, I'm like, okay. So, anyway, you can see that's not a lot. That's all it took to do their smear campaign on Shamay, to which followed her when Amari went in for his, well, let's see what's wrong with him. Okay? Because they wouldn't diagnose him with cerebral palsy until they did this. Okay? And this is, and then in this, they took what they wanted from here in the terms of the smear campaign, and they started importing it in here. So that by the time I went to these feeding teams, physiotherapist teams, hip doctor teams, didn't matter what kind of fucking team it was within the government with their program that I'm automatically signed up to, basically, because I guess it's because I'm poor. Maybe if I wasn't poor, I could pull back a bit on it, but because I'm dependent on the government, one, through social services, and two, you get the diapers, you get the supplemental drinks, you get the vitamin D drops if you need them, and the PEG through the at-home program, as well as a few other services. But with that comes slavery, people. You are required to meet with this team, this team, this team, this team, this team, every fucking 6 months until Amari's 18 years old, regardless of the consequences. Well, the last video that I put up with the feeding team, now I'm getting mad, okay? The last video that I put up with the feeding team, which was a very mild meeting, it was pretty mild, really, compared to some of the other things that he has to deal with, like with the hip doctor and stuff. I mean, clearly he didn't want to be in there. He started actually fussing right from the get-go, because he knew it was just a matter of time before all those people were going to start fucking manhandling him. And it hurts him, and it's causing him distress, and whatever, okay? And this is what the government's got me on with this bandwagon. If they injure him, nobody ever gets held to account. It doesn't matter what group, or when they do it, if they do it, how they do it, and why they fucking do it. Not one person will ever be held to account to anything that happens bad to Amari. Even if he creates psychological, behavioral problems, because as soon as he sees us driving up to the children's hospital, because they got him on this 6-month fucking regime, right, monitoring his hips with x-rays and the twisting of this and the twisting of that and the spreading of this and just the whole 9 yards, right? Like, he associates immediately what's going to happen. And, he starts fussing even before it happens. And then when he does fuss, it sounds like he's literally in fucking pain and he's begging for his life, people, if you can understand his sounds. And then when he's safe in my arms, he's, right? Because now he feels safe and he feels like he can defend himself. Is this what we got to look forward to until he's 18 years old so he can get off this fucking program? And then by the time he's 18 years old, the government will be done, because they treat them differently when they're older. You have to remember this, people. It's easy to call in Child Protective Services via the paramedics because Amari had a seizure. I can't even find, I'm looking for that letter that when Greta sent me back saying that it was closed, right? In terms of the last time I had social services called on me because of the seizure that Amari had, right? And I'm arguing with the freaking paramedic. Oh, it was your daughter doing drugs as to why Amari had a seizure. And I'm like, no, it wasn't, right? It was, Amari was injured at the time of his birth. And what did that bastard do? He turned around and he called social services on me, and I'm at the freaking hospital. They got Amari all drugged up, right? Looking for meningitis, right? Literally, people, giving him this drug, giving him that drug, right? As they're got the social workers chasing me around. Right? And once it was settled that everything was fine, then they stopped their sedation. Just stupid shit like that. Okay. So this little bit of Amari's birth gave healthcare staff, and you can't say Fraser Health Authority because we go downtown too, you know, right? To a different hospital, Children's Hospital. I'm sure that's a different health authority. This is why it should always go back to the freaking government. There's too many health authorities for the government to pawn off their negligence. Okay? It's the government's responsibility to monitor their employees. All right. And then they take whatever they want from here and they start importing it into here. As they botch the MRI on purpose because of bad attitude, slamming and opening and slamming the door back and forth into the MRI room just so that Amari would hear it, right? So they got him in this fucking machine making all this freaking noise as they're running in and out of the door, slamming it, and we're talking a big heavy metal door that's like this thick, and boom, right, back in and out, multiple people going in and out, picking a fight with me because I'm worried, you know, and just like what's going on, right? And then I'm sitting there, and I hear him crying. I can hear him through that thick, heavy door crying in that MRI room. So they had to cancel it. And then they wanted to book him again in 2 days later or a day later. And I'm like, heck no. Heck no. And then it got forwarded to the Children's Hospital. And they ended up doing it at the Children's Hospital. I don't have those medical files. If this lawyer takes on the case, she can get those medical files. Right? This is all I have. But this is enough for her. This is enough for her to see that there's something missing. Not just 3 pages, people. The 3 pages that I'm looking for. I'm looking for 3 pages in particular. Right? 2 of them relate directly to Shamay's death, where I signed a form. No, I mean, I may have photocopied it and not realize, because, you know, it's hard for me to see, right? I tried to look at everything. I tried to write a double write, whatever, right? You know, I tried to just make it so that it was, you know, she didn't have to waste her time in terms of, right? You know, because it's too much information. It's mind-boggling. And one is where I signed the paper. What are you doing? One is where I signed the paper to have an autopsy. I couldn't get a forensic autopsy because there was no quote-unquote official investigation where it was suspicious that Shamay was, you know, dead, right? That had to come from the police. But I did sign the hospital form for the autopsy, but that was signed. See, here's another thing. It's the Nelson Mandela effect, or the Mandela effect. That was signed on the night that they turned off their machine, on the 19th. And because I asked, well, where's the, you know, to make organ donation? That's when they finally said, no, you can't. Shamay's body is contaminated with cocaine, even her eyes. Nothing can be harvested from Shamay. So I never got to sign anything, even though I requested to sign to donate. Even if it was just her eyes, people, I would have donated her eyes, right? Okay. The paper there was 2 papers I was supposed to sign. I did sign the one for the autopsy, but understand, it wouldn't have been a forensic autopsy. It just would have been an autopsy, right? That piece of paper in Shamay's medical files, when I was photocopying, doesn't stand out as far as I'm concerned. I didn't come across it. Where did it go? Well, it might be mixed in some other papers, or maybe I signed it and I just didn't realize it. I mean, maybe I did photocopy it and it just slipped me by, right? Either or, that's one piece of paper missing. The other piece of paper missing is there was another one at the very end of those 9 days where when they pulled the plug, right, the machine turned it off, whatever you want to call it, the organ donation people came, apparently, to talk to me, and they had it written down on I'm pretty sure it was on a different piece of paper. I found something that was kind of like there, but where it specifically said that I refuse that, which is a bunch of crock. Okay. And then the other file paper that I'm looking for directly relates to this, where they did the urine test for Amari to find out why he was jittery. Those results came in. I read them. I don't know if I read them in Shamay's medical files when Amari was born, or if I read them here, because I can't seem to find them in this, but I have them here. I have them noted in here that I had already previously read them. This is when I was doing all this stuff on my sewing table, right? And I was going to have to backtrack and correspond them together so that whoever was going to follow up on this, whether it was me or whoever, could see that something fishy was going on in terms of whatever they wrote in this one when they were doing their test to find out what was wrong with Amari. They got the blood work listed down in here as a copy and paste from what I had already previously read on a different piece of paper within a different part of a file, whether Shamay's or Amari's. And because I got busy, I don't know, I never had a chance to follow up on it. So now I can't find that one particular copy and paste. But for whatever reason, it's showing in Amari's medical files. And I talked about this a long time ago on a video, people. But for whatever reason, on this section of Amari's medical files, it looks like those blood tests were taken from the time of his birth. I mean, from the time of that appointment in November of 2018 versus from the time of his birth. Right? So in other words, they took his urine, they tested it in 2017, they got the results, that's somewhere, and then when he went in for to find out what was wrong with him in November of 2018, they took that from 2017, imported it into his 2018 file for that period that we were there for the MRI, the blood tests, and all this other stuff that they were doing. And the way I read it was it looked like those were the results of that time versus coming in from 2017. Anyway, I wrote it down here where for the lawyer to make note of that, you know, whether I made a mistake because I don't know how to read medical files correctly, or, you know, maybe I misplaced the papers thinking I was going to go back and coordinate and make sure that, you know, to fill in the gaps so that when I got to this point I wouldn't have to go looking for the freaking paper. Right? Or maybe I just missed it when I was photocopying, but at least she's aware, and if she comes across it, it will just, you know, yeah, she mentioned that, let's just go put it in there, and she was right. I'm either right or I'm wrong. I'm just saying. Okay, so I did Andre's medical files. I did Shamay's medical files. I just finished Amari's medical files. I'm on the hunt for 3 pieces of paper, literally. Let me go check on Amari for a second. Hold on. What are you doing? You got quiet. I heard you. Hey, Mr. Magoo. No. You're a Mr. Magoo. Yeah, I'm Mr. Magoo. I'm Mr. Magoo. My Houdini baby. He's a Houdini baby. You think so, eh? I need to come and change this video short. Oh, yeah. Okay. Get out of my feet, cat. Go away. So yeah, I'm on the hunt for 3 pieces of paper, and I'm trying not to drive myself nuts over it. Literally. Okay. So then, because I'm looking for these papers, right? I'm like, okay, you know, you technically I don't have to give her anything more, but I'm talking on a video. Okay? Technically, what I've done so far, I really don't have to give her any more outside of the more information she gets the first time around, on the first go, the better the understanding that she's going to have as to what happened to Amari. If I gave her just this little bit, that doesn't tell her very much. Whereas if I give her that much, it tells her a fair amount. And then she can start connecting the dots. Okay? So, with that said, this is where I'm going to keep this short, okay? Because I'm going to work on this all day, again. But this part's not so hard, okay? At least I don't think it is. I'm trying to stay positive with this, people. So what I did is I went into my cubby, and now I'm going through the binders because I'm on the hunt for those 3 pieces of paper that I'm thinking maybe I misplaced, because I'm pretty sure I fucking read them. Because I knew I was going to go backtrack and do something like this. I just didn't think it was going to take, I don't know, what, 4 years later? I mean, look, I got those papers basically in 2018. Amari's medical files in 2018, because that's when he had his, that's when he went. So that's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, so almost 5 years it's been sitting dormant. No wonder why I can't remember where those 3 pieces of paper are. So I'm on a hunt for those 3 pieces of paper, and I'm going to hunt through here. And anything that I find of pertinence, I'm going to add to this as general information. And I'm going to talk to you briefly about what I think I'm going to add, to which I know, okay, this is, and I mean, like, if she doesn't want to take on this case, I guess that's what it is, she can just send everything back to me, right? That's right. Just send it back to me and be done with it, right? And then I'll deal with it. So I'm going to give her a copy of this. And what this is, because I'm looking for those 3 pieces of paper, people, but I'm finding other things that I think that she might be interested in, okay? And she should know anyway, okay? And this letter is dated from July 27th of 2020, and it's from the Court of Appeal, okay? And it's in relation to Fraser Health Authority, okay? This is basically what it says. I'm going to read it anyway. Okay? Dear Judy Chorney, I write to let you... It's just 1 piece of paper. Yeah. I write to let you know that Professor Christy Ford from the University of British Columbia requested access to some materials in the court record of your file, Chorney versus Fraser Health Authority. Okay? The Court of Appeal recognizes the importance of the open court principle in a democratic society. Openness ensures that the members of the public can understand and comment on how the court operates and how proceedings are conducted. It also makes it possible to uphold the principle that the law applies equally to everyone. As a result, the Court of Appeals access policy, which can be found on the court's website. You know, I think I tried to do something with the Court of Appeals. It's been so long, I can't remember. And I tried to waiver my fees, people, and it was denied. I was denied waivering my fees to go in front of the Court of Appeals, okay? To pay the $200, right? You have to pay $200 in order to be able to file to go in front of 3 judges under the Court of Appeals. I didn't want to pay the $200 because I'd already paid $400 to file lawsuits against Fraser Health Authority and CIBC Bank for what they did to Uncle John. Right? So I put the application in to... Andre, turn that down. I put the application in to waiver the fees for the Court of Appeal because the judges threw out the Fraser Health Authority one because they completely ignored the evidence, even when they had it in their fucking hand, when it came to enduring power of attorney from the, photocopy from the bank itself, in terms of that original enduring power of attorney from 1990. I'm just saying, right? Not to mention the power of attorney. I had 2 power of attorneys, remember? Okay, so anyway, it was denied. Well, what was I supposed to do? Okay, Professor Ford, okay, let's go back. As a result, the Court of Appeals access policy, which, turn it down, Andre. Nana's got a headache. I've had a headache for days. 2 days were really bad. Andre! And I'm...
What?
Just turn it down! Let me finish my video!
It's got the TV volume's not even on.
I heard it!
That's Amari.
Oh, sorry. As a result, let me just finish this. As a result, the Court of Appeals access policy, which can be found on the court's website, generally permits members of the public who request access to court records to view the contents of those records. Professor Ford is researching the no-fee application process at the Court of Appeal and is interested in making recommendations to improve, streamline, or change that process. She requested access to some materials in your court record as part of her project. Chief Justice Bowman approved the request. Now you have to remember, Bowman, I think he was, the one who threw it out. He was the second one. There was 3 of them. I went in front of John. Maybe Bowman was the one that denied the waiver of fees. So that would have been 4 judges I would have went in front of. And everybody threw everything out. Threw it out, threw it out, threw it out, threw it out. Approve the request after reviewing the purpose of the project. Chief Justice Bowman approved the request after reviewing the purpose of the project and details about how the requested information would be stored and used. Well, yeah, all they did is took what happened to me and made it so that it got easier for them to deny other people from accessing waiver of fees so that they could throw out more fucking court cases. That's it. They took what I did, what I went through, and they used it to their favor, and then they buried it like their damn dirty secret in terms of what they did to my family. Okay? I'm not going to get mad. I'm not going to cry, because right now I'm feeling real sorry for Uncle John. Like, you don't even know, people. Like, you don't even know. They buried this, what the court did to me as I was fighting for Uncle John. Just like they, as a dirty secret. Just like they threw Uncle John into some old folks' home after they took him to his sister's house and let him, what, sit and rot until she didn't want him anymore, got everything all nicely signed and delivered and deposited into his bank account, and then she just threw him into an old folks' home and left him there, and then he fucking died one day before he went into the hospital 3 years prior to the time they took him? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Professor Ford, because they sure in the hell did, whatever they did didn't help me. They did this for their own reason. Had nothing to do with helping poor people get justice in any kind of capacity, in any sort of representation when they come forward to the court. Okay? Professor Ford, or a research assistant in her group, may contact you to ask you some questions about your experience with the no-fee application process. It was a sham. It was a fraud. And therefore, they already knew it was a sham, and it was fraud, and it was a joke, and it was a kangaroo court situation where the elite take advantage of the most vulnerable, and therefore, they did not call me, people. They took what they wanted, and they tucked it away like their dirty secret. Well, their dirty secret came to the fucking surface here, today. And I'm going to photocopy it, and I'm going to pass it to the lawyer. For general information. You think I would have learned the first time with Uncle John, but no, I had to go back and fight for Shamay. Yeah, and Amari. And even then, that got thrown out. Yeah, okay. Another sham. As Shamay would say, it's a sham. Professor Ford, or a research assistant in her group, may contact you to ask you some questions about your experiences with the no-fee application process. You are in no way obligated to participate in the interview, but we wanted to inform you in advance that you may be contacted for an interview in case you wish to participate. Well, it doesn't sound like I even had a choice to opt out from participating, because they took what they wanted anyway, people, and all they did was fine-tune on how to lock out other people from getting no waiver fees. Because it didn't do anything to help my situation. So that's just one big thick piece of paper. And that was July 27th of 2020. And that came in the mail. Okay, so I'm going to add that just for general references. And in light of that, she's aware that, you know, I fought for Uncle John in the past, and that I tried to file 2 lawsuits. Well, 3 really. But initially, it all began with Uncle John. Well, that's not true. I went to the Supreme Court when they took Andre, and because I couldn't get a lawyer, because I was a lowly grandmother, and I wasn't qualified for legal aid, I had no choice but to borrow money on my life insurance policy. Uncle John and I, we opened up a bank account through Andre for a trust account, through his account, right? deposited the money in there. I ended up going this, buying that, paying for this, fixing the car, just so I could go to the Supreme Court and file a lawsuit against the government of British Columbia, Canada, to get my grandson back. And when they seen that I was serious and I was going to put in any kind of necessary papers that was required for me to do that, because I was already in court with Sierra under that custody order and the Sierra shit, then that's when a judge told me that I needed to go back to legal aid, put a new application, and you have to remember 3 or 4 months had already passed by this point, right? Right? Because I'm fighting for custody on my own in the provincial court against the Ministry of Children and Family Development as they're trying to take Andre away from Sierra and withhold him from me, right? And the judge is like, well, hold on a minute, you have custody. And I'm like, well, how the hell can I have custody as I'm filing a lawsuit against the province in the Supreme Court to get my grandson back because nothing was going on good for me in the provincial court. And then that's when that judge said, well, no, you need to go back to legal aid and put another application in, right, for legal aid to have representation as you're basically battling MCFD over Andre. And I guess Sierra. So I went and I filed another application for legal aid. That one was forwarded to the province people. To a supervisor that works in the Parliament buildings under that particular department. And it was approved by the supervisor where I would suddenly qualify after 4 months of being told I was nothing but a lowly grandmother, that I qualified for a lawyer to represent my side of the proceedings of the party of you're a party of the proceedings. And because that happened, then I let go of the Supreme Court lawsuit because now it was being dealt with on a provincial level through a lawyer. But it took me going to the Supreme Court and starting the process first before I even got the lawyer. And then they went after Uncle John. And then we know the story around that one. And this is something. I don't know if this is mine. Or if this is something that the government sent me back as we were going back and forth for those couple of times in front of judges. But the first judge I came across, I think he was a master, told me I had to amend my notice of civil claim after he mocked me and said it was basically verbal diarrhea. And that I should be grateful that somebody even took the time to read it. Outside of that, by law, he was obligated to give me that one chance to amend it, and so I did. And then I submitted my amendment. I amended it to the best of my ability, right? Wasn't trying to be a lawyer, but I was standing up for my family, okay? Anyway, this, lawyer, I don't know. She's going to have to be a barracuda, I tell you. And she's going to have some swag. A barracuda with some swag. Right? Right? So, anyway, I thought just for general reference, it's legitimate. You can see it. I don't know if this is my personal copy or if it's something that the Fraser Health Authority gave me back in their mounds of fucking paper as they were asking for it to be dismissed, but it's basically all put together. So I figure it's legitimate, and I think this lawyer would probably appreciate it. It says November 23rd of 2017, affidavit. Right? I guess there's an affidavit here. Yeah, there's an affidavit here. So what does the affidavit say? I don't know. Anyway, I'm just adding this to her. And what this basically is when I filed the lawsuit for Uncle John, right? And I had to do that amendment. This is what this stuff is. this is what they had me draw lines through. And I was ordered to bring it down to 20 papers. I couldn't have what I needed to say over 20 papers. So this was reduced down basically to 20 papers. But it's the original, and if she really wants the, a clear copy without lines drawn through it, that's easy enough to get around the house. But it shows my intent in terms of people. I felt like I was in university. I had the Criminal Code of Canada in one hand, and I had all these rules, regulations, acts, laws, mandates from all these different ministries, to which I still have binder after binder after binder after binder after binder after binder that align with what's inside here. And if she takes the time just to even familiarize herself with it briefly, she's going to realize what a sham our court system is, because when you come back to them with the freaking legislation and you can specifically highlight what these government employee workers are doing wrong through their various acts, rules, mandates, and legislations, and the judges and the lawyer, I guess Fraser Health Authority lawyer was the defendant, but he sure wasn't defending justice, that's for sure. He was defending the ability to continue on with the acts of criminal activity. As I was writing, that I was exposing that criminal activity as the judge was covering it up. So, how lawyers work around corrupt judges, corrupt lawyers, just the corruptness of itself, right? Versus fighting and seeking justice and looking for truth. A lot of these government employees are working to cover up the truth, bury it away like they're dirty secrets, and then capitalize on how to get better at being a crook, versus holding people to account and making it so that people like me can actually get our fees waived when we request it for legitimate reasons. I'm just saying. So this one I don't have to photocopy it. That one's going in as is, because I have a lot of this stuff around anyway. Amari wasn't the first victim. He was just a progression. I don't care what Judge Ross says. Okay? Amari was targeted. Remember, as soon as he was born, he was signed up to their research study and to their new and approved hip surveillance program that guaranteed every 6 months x-rays and people doing this and that and blah and blah and blah and blah. Okay, stay positive. Now, this is my binder. I said I was going to do this. Personally, I'm tired, and I'd like to just call it quits and just give her what I've got. But I just feel, really, in my heart, I do, people, that it's important for her just to broaden her mind in terms of whether it's information where it just makes her a better lawyer, all in all, for other people in their cases, because she came across some, people learn differently, all you have to do is, for some people, they're like, brainiacs, right? They read and, it goes into the hippocampus, and then it goes into the long-term, memory, and it just compounds knowledge, and so, maybe what she's reading isn't necessarily going to benefit us here, this household, but it might be something that she puts away in a long-term memory so that when she represents another family, she'll remember my files because she already made a note of it, so that if she should ever come across it again, it will be that much quicker and faster and easier for her to pick up on it and connect the dots for that family within their story. Okay? Okay? Because I was targeted through Fraser Health Authority and their staff. Okay? And with that, I am going to photocopy, these are my medical files at the Surrey Memorial Hospital. If you notice, they're not that thick. And that's the birth of Shamay and the birth of Tisha, to which I'm going to add both of them. Which, you know, might take a half a day. If I can add in Andre's medical files, I can add in my medical files, right? Basically. Yeah. This is just basically birth. That's all birth between my last two daughters. The last couple of 2-3 pages is when I burnt myself with black walnut and I had to go to the Surrey Memorial Hospital to figure out what the hell I should do with it. And I ended up just using aloe vera oil, or aloe vera plant, the gel from the aloe vera plant, and it healed up whatever I did with that black walnut when I was working with that black walnut in those days. But outside of that, this is all basically the birth of my last two children. And the reason I'm adding this is because, like I said before, there is misinformation in there, or there is omitted information in there, in with the fact that, one, I'm a living witness to the shenanigans that are carried out within the healthcare system, to where you actually get injured for life and you don't even really realize it until years later. So basically what happened was Shamay, I always thought I didn't get an epidural because it was such a great little pregnancy birthing process that, you know, it was unnecessary. But after reading my medical files, you know, it triggered memory where, you're right, apparently I did get an epidural for the last hour or whatever it was before Shamay was born. But honestly, people, it was completely unnecessary because I was cracking jokes the whole time with Uncle John and with the nurse. But at some point, the nurse came back to me and asked me if I wanted an epidural. And she basically talked me into it. And I guess I agreed. And then within an hour or whatever, a short period of time, an hour or two maybe later, Shamay was born. And that's when the nurse was almost ready to catch the baby. But out of the blue, all of a sudden, the doctor came in and grabbed Shamay, and then they did what they did, and then they just handed Shamay right over to Uncle John. And I'm looking at Shamay saying, wow, she looks like me. That's the only thing that I could think of. Okay? And then with Taisha, though, this is where, you know, the point is they said I demanded the epidural. I did not, people. I go back into my memory, and I remember laying there, and she's saying, oh, you know, you can just have an epidural, and you know, it'd be a little bit easier, and, you know, and I, you know, she was coercing me to have one. But versus taking the responsibility of her coercement, she shifted the blame on me by saying I demanded it. Okay? And then with Tisha, oh, that one was a nightmare. And I dreamt that one, people. I dreamt that one. I seen that one coming before it even happened, but it was too late. I couldn't stop it. Just like I couldn't stop Shamay when I seen Shamay dead, and not even a year later, Shamay's dead. Like a year and a half later or whatever it was, Shamay was dead. Anyway, Tisha, with the oxytocin, that new Chinese nurse was running the oxytocin machine, and she gave me too much, and literally, people, that's how it was heaving. I was heaving so bad, I almost heaved myself off the freaking table, bed, or whatever you want to call it. I had people on both sides of me, holding me, trying to prevent me from flying off the table and landing on the fucking floor, okay? Because of this shit that she had me going on with this oxytocin crap. And then I was half off the table, and she's, you know, she's got her hand now between my legs, and she's saying, don't push this, don't push. But of course, I'm heaving and I'm screaming, I'm not pushing, right? And well, because she was trying to hold Tisha in, because otherwise through that heaving, Tisha would have flew across across the fucking room. Literally, people. Okay? And then all of a sudden she's got Tisha, and she's got Tisha between my legs, just like the way I seen it in my dream. And there's Tisha, bluer than blue. And this woman is, oh, she's a girl. And I'm screaming at her to get some air into my baby, because my baby was completely blue because of this shit. Okay. I got my medical files. I know what happened. I was there. After that, I couldn't walk for a fucking year, people. My back felt like it was freaking broken. After they said I could leave that hospital, which was like 3 days later or whatever it was, 2 days or 3 days later, I left, and I didn't ever want to go back to a hospital again in my life. And for a whole freaking year, I could barely walk because my back fucking felt broken from what that bitch did to me. But it took me years later to find out that my uterus actually got tilted. Isn't that interesting? I have a tilted uterus because of it. Which, if you have a tilted uterus, it ends up becoming painful when you have sex. Go figure. I'm just saying. Not that I wanted any more sex, because I didn't want any more kids. But what if I want sex? Is it still going to hurt after all these years, now that I got my eye on a guy? Huh? Wink, wink. Right? Just saying. I got a date booked in for 3 months from now. What if I decide I like this guy, and a year from now I want to have sex with him? I have sex with him in a year from now, and it hurts because of my tilted uterus, because of what that fucking bitch did to me when I gave birth to Tisha, as she almost killed my baby. And they didn't write it down. You see, that's the thing. They didn't write it down. They made it sound like everything was fine, which is a bunch of crock. And that's why I'm going to photocopy this, and I'm going to add it in there for reference, because just because you don't see something in a medical file doesn't mean it didn't happen, people. They're just not going to report on themselves. They're not going to make it easy to get caught. They're going to fudge the numbers. They're going to bury, hide the dirty secret, even if, or they just won't report on it, people. So I have to do that today. And I'm like, okay, you're on a roll, just keep working on it. This is your one shot. You send it that way, if she's not interested, she'll send it back. It will all be nicely done. And if I haven't found those 3 papers that I'm looking for between the interim of that time, I can still look around and place them in there and get a second opinion. I'm just saying. All right, I don't know what's in here. All I know it's thick. Okay? What does it say? It says Amari's court. Yes, that's right. And you see, this is what I mean. Some of this stuff is kind of mixed up, right? It's a longer video than I expected. But I just want you to know that I'm giving it 1,000%, people. 1,000%. I've been giving it 1,000%. Okay? Now, as I'm looking through here, I'm finding miscellaneous papers. Okay? From Fraser Health Authority. Medical imaging report. So this is in Amari's court. Do you see? So, that's what I'm saying. Maybe I misplaced the paper because, it's like there's a lot of paperwork I've worked on over all these years, people. Like, you don't even know. Fraser Health Authority. This is, I don't know what this is. It says Shamay Geraldine. What I'm looking for could very well be in here. This is comparison, no previous exam type, CT, head, history, post-cardiac arrest. Okay, so this is Shamay's. This one's Amari's. See how I got things mixed up? But I have to photocopy these and, I guess, put them in between what I've been doing. And then MRI Provincial Health Services Authority. This is Amari's. See? So I still might be able to find... And then we've got court papers here, which I gave her just a couple, right? Just so she has it on record, right? And then... I'm not giving her all these appointment things that I have to go to. And then, what's this? You requested for medical equipment received in our office on January. Please, I don't know what that is. That would be for the at-home program. The court. And then look what's going on here. I have to go in here and dig around. Everything's all mixed up, people. You don't even know. I had too many binders. Just all court there. I had to clear off my sewing table at one point. It was just getting too much. You know, War Room 2, right? As if it did me any good. Okay? So, I don't know. I have to go through each and every page just looking for anything that I think that might be of interest to her. Right? So that she doesn't have to ask me questions later because she already got the information and she kind of knows in what direction the wind is blowing. Okay? That's why. Right? Like I said, she's going to have to be a barracuda. Alright, so we need these ones. And then here's another one here. Okay? And there's probably a few more around, but in the meantime. So this one looks like BC Children Hospital. I don't know how I got that one. Oh, that's just like for an appointment. But basically, now I did have... Oh my God. I really so need to pay attention to this. Because I did have something here that's important. And I wanted to just briefly touch base on it. And then what I'll do is I'll end it on this note. And then I'll play catch up with this stuff. Okay? Because it's going to take me a little while to double check on this stuff. Shamay had an ultrasound. I don't know where it is now. I brought it out. See? It's so hard to see, right? Shamay had an ultrasound from... Oh, here it is. From this... UC Baby 3D ultrasound. I guess that's the official paperwork of some kind. I don't know what this is. All I know is I asked her not to do it, but she did it anyway. Yeah, no, this is just them advertising it. Either or, I'm just putting this as an afterthought to what could have contributed to Amari's injury in his brain. Because if there's any truth to this matter, in regards to the yay, yes it's safe, and nay it's not, right? Then it becomes the government's responsibility, not Fraser Health Authority, not Island Health Authority, not Coastal Health Authority, but the province of British Columbia, Canada, aka Sonia 2 and her employers, to protect the public. When the justice system isn't doing it. And take them off the fucking market. Unless, of course, they benefit from having children injured in vitro under these kind of situations or at the time of their birth. Doesn't matter. It keeps their employees happy, healthy, and fed, and keeps their research studies filled with the quota in terms of the numbers of kids that they need in order to follow through on that research study, as they try and say it's not a research study, but in fact it really is. Right? You know, like just stupid shit, people. So anyway, I'm just going to add this in there briefly. It's not very much. Just so that because I have the original CD plus Shamay uploaded online, right? To that 3D ultrasound. Because if that's what injured Amari's brain, if that's what injured Amari's brain, again, ultimately, by default, it goes to the government to protect the general public, and that should be banned. It should be taken off the market and inaccessible to anybody. Because it's been around long enough for them to know whether it's effective or not, or defective. So I have to photocopy that. So you can see what I'm doing now. So through doing all that, I might be able to find those 3 pieces of paper that I'm looking for. Yeah, you never know. Because I was going to backtrack, literally, I was going to backtrack and add them in, where I found it odd that they should be copying and pasting it into the November 2018 results of their testing as to what was wrong with Amari. Right? I don't even know what this crap is. I don't know why it's in here. Okay, so I guess I have to focus. That's what I need to do. Okay, this one is Shamay's. When she was dead. And of course, when I'm on that part of this whole situation I'm working on here, you know, I don't know what this lawyer is going to think when I point blank state that Shamay was embalmed, illegally embalmed, that Shamay had her organs illegally harvested, that I can prove that she had an orifice plug in her mouth. I can prove that she had a bruise, even though on this paper it says that she didn't. Because I can take a picture that we weren't allowed to take, that somebody was kind enough to take and give to me, and put it under exposure and prove that she had a bruise. So whatever they wrote in their paper is a sham, is a lie, is hogwash, is misleading, is falsified information. And it's not the first time they do shit like that, because that's why I'm adding in my medical files, because the moment I become dead, it becomes mute. But as long as I'm alive, I'm a witness to those medical files being falsified, because I was there. I could go to the doctor today, and the doctor will probably, hell, no, I just have to phone up my cutie pie and flirt with him for a little bit and maybe get lucky. And I'll be able to tell you whether my uterus, after all these years, is still tilted, because it will hurt like a mother, you know what. Okay? I'm just saying, I don't think that shit ever goes away, people. No. Because my doctor that discovered it, because you have to remember, I stopped having sex after I had Tisha. I had sex with Tisha's dad 3 months after she was born. It was terrible. And then after that, I just stopped. And then about 5 or 8, 10 years later, I can't remember when, I went for, you know, a standard woman thing. And that doctor told me my uterus had been freaking tilted. And I said, oh, is that maybe why sex was uncomfortable? He goes, yeah. But, like I said, I didn't want to get pregnant anymore, so it wasn't no big deal. I just let it slide. Didn't even give it a second thought until... And then when they falsified my birth with Tisha by omitting the fact that Tisha almost flew out of my vagina, that Tisha was born completely blue. She wasn't born, it wasn't a normal birthing. It was completely abnormal. And it was done with intent. You see, that's the thing. That Chinese nurse had me exactly where she wanted me, and she made sure she tortured me because she was the one that was controlling the amount of the oxytocin that was going through the IV. Otherwise, my body would not have done that. Remember, I already gave birth to 4 kids. That was completely different. Okay, I don't know what this is, but medical imaging report. And that's another thing. I got 2 CDs when I got these things back. Do you think I can find them? No. One for the botched MRI, for Amari's, MRI, the first time he went and had one. And the CD for the gray matter that was apparently leaking down through the neck spine, down that way. Her brain was apparently leaking down the spine. And that's what gave them the right to say that she was now, quote-unquote, brain dead. I lost it. I don't know. It's somewhere in the house. I used to have it here. It used to be in my sewing room. Then I had it here. I was going to do a video on it. And then, of course, I got, I had to fight, put the killer off in here. This is War Room 3, right, people? Well, yeah, 4, really. Right? But basically known as my office, right? Had to clear everything off. I took those CDs somewhere down that way. And I've been looking for months. And do you think I can find them? No. But if this lawyer, this barracuda, I hope she's a barracuda. I'm just saying. If she wants to take on the case of Amari and all his emotional baggage, because this is what you're looking at here is emotional baggage, she can always put in a new application to get the files, which would be practical, because since I did Amari's medical files, all I got is that much, and that was when they did the first series of tests on him in regards to what's wrong with Amari. Whereas he's been to the hospital, 3 times now because of seizures? Yeah. Not to mention multiple times at the children's hospital. As a large majority of those workers that I come into contact are on a witch hunt. Which makes it become slavery, because you have more than one master. Okay, so maybe what I'll do is I'll just end this video now. I'll convert it, upload it, be done with that, as I now attempt to just maybe what I got everything nice. I don't even want to attempt to disrupt anything. So I think these particular papers, I am just going to keep it easy on myself. I tell myself, don't get your hopes up high, right? Nobody is obligated to do anything. You're not the only one out there with problems. right? You know, but I tell myself, what do I tell myself? I don't know what I tell myself. Just don't get my hopes up high. I don't want to start getting mad at lawyers, because I'll tell you, when I do shit like this, and what you just seen, and what you could see, right? You've been watching it for years, right? And I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so obviously never got anywhere with it, right? But just knowing what lawyers go through, because I've kind of half done it, only in the halfway sense, oh my God. I have, you don't even know, I have this, it's like, you know, a lot of appreciation for them, right? Like, right? You know what I mean? You have to admire them for doing this crap, man. Look at this. Do you see how nice and neat that is? Oh my Lord. You don't even know how heavy this is, people. Okay? Oh. Oh. That is Shamay's and Andre's. Then we've got Amari's. I'm going to throw this in here right now. Easy peasy for general information. I'll put a sticky thing on there. General information. Matter of fact, I'll do it right now so I don't have to do it later. Right? General information. Emotional baggage. But you have to remember, my family was targeted by Fraser Health Authority staff people because they didn't want to get caught with what they were doing with Uncle John. And I don't think that targeting just stopped after they got him and finally got him tucked away like their dirty secret. No. They carried on with their targeting, and they targeted Amari, and then they targeted Shamay. And who else are they going to target next as they continue to target? Just to distract away from what happened to Sierra, what happened to Andre, to what happened to Uncle John. Because you have to remember, Eleanor Gilding got a whole lot of money after she stole Uncle John's money and then tucked him away like her dirty secret, which means she had thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to bribe people to do the things that they've done over the years to hurt my family. That's emotional baggage. But it doesn't mean it's not real or it's not possible. Retaliation is real. They were retaliating against me and the kids as they were conspiring, as they were doping up John, how they were going to get him out of there to Victoria to separate him from his immediate family so that they can steal his money. Eleanor Gilding facilitated that, and she works for the province people for the immunization program, and the government's been working hard to cover up that fact. The government's been working hard to cover up that fact. But that's not what we're talking about. We got to be specific in regards to, was Amari injured at the time of his birth, or was he not? And if he was, how did it happen? Because if there's a wrong, it's the court's responsibility to make it a right. Did you see what I did here? And of course, I have OCD, so I don't like that. But I can't help it, because I can't see very well. I'm serious. You don't even know. Is that better? Not really. It looks crooked. Do you see how I'm writing? I'm going, there's not so bad, but look what's happening here. That embarrasses me. I don't like that. But when you start to go blind, this is where you can't worry about it. Okay, so that's there. So now we just added that. That was easy peasy. Right? She's got it. If she wants to go through it, she can. If she doesn't want to, she's not obligated to do it. Right? If she does, the only thing it's going to do is fine-tune up on her Criminal Code of Canada, you know, and all these rules, acts, and regulations under the Healthcare Act. And being that she works within the healthcare system as a lawyer, it would only benefit her to refresh her memory on these things, even if it's on a hippocampus level, where it's short-term put into long-term. Okay, so I have to put a clip on Amari's, and then it fills up this box. And then whatever I have left will be more than enough just to go into the envelope. And then I'm just going to put miscellaneous, because I'm not even going to try, and add these miscellaneous papers into what I've already got. I don't want to disrupt them. They're nice and neat and good to go. Oh, you don't even know how heavy this thing is. And hopefully I'll have this done, like, oh my lord, ASAP by today. That's what I'm hoping for. I want it done by today for the most part. So that's what I'm going to work on today. So that's what I've been working on. Out of the last 5 days, I've had a headache for 2 days. I never took Tylenol because I'm going to be going for this eye surgery thing here pretty soon. And it said I had to go to my family doctor to confirm that I'm not on blood thinners and all this other crap, but it's not like I can go see Dr. Pasinski for fucking anything here. So I'm just going to show up and say I can't see my family doctor because he told me to take him to court. And if they want to send me away from surgery, they can send me away from fucking eye surgery. Serious people, like seriously, you don't even know. Because that's the kind of shit that they do, right? I'm not on blood thinners. I haven't seen a doctor in years. I'm just saying. Right? So, we'll see what happens. I might be turned away yet. I might. Maybe.